Just wanted to see everybody.
Good to see
Inga.
you.
Hi, everybody.
Hey, nice to see you, Inga.
Oh my God, I miss you all like mad. Miss you all so much.
But here we are every day.
I know. So good to see your faces.
Hey.
How are them kids doing?
They're good. They're all playing cards right now.
Oh, good.
And coloring. Yeah. That's what we were doing while we were listening.
Hi, Inga.
Hi, everybody.
We met you at Sahavas.
Yeah. I want that poem. I remembered. I remembered meeting you at the Sahavas when I saw your pictures in here. It's so nice to see everybody.
Beautiful.
Where did Orang go?
Love to Will. Huh?
Yeah, I will send love. We're going to be there Thursday. We're going to come and walk the center on Friday.
Oh, great.
Okay.
And come see Tom.
Yeah.
You'll come see Tomsy.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to giving him a big hug.
Yeah. Well, a virtual hug, of course.
Yeah.
Well, let us know when you're in the neighborhood. Meher-chan has to go to work. What happened to Orang?
His Kije sent him away.
Yeah, I know, right? Oh.
Flew away.
I got a few kind of quotes here. Oh no, not again. I got a delay, so you can hear my voice, but the actual visual thing is out of sync. I was doing fine all through the latter part of the arti.
Oh, you were?
Okay, this is Rumi. This is the way these God-realized people write. Rumi writes, to you, life is a prison, but to me, it's a garden. To me, involvement in the world has become spiritual freedom. Your feet get stuck in mud, but my mud is mulch for roses. You are mourning while I beat a drum. I may be living here on earth with you, but I also occupy galaxies beyond the stars. In fact, I'm not sitting here beside you at all. This is only my shadow.
Wow. Incredible.
Here's another one from Rumi. Your robe brushes my arm as you pass by. I turn, but always too slowly, and I am left with a glorious ache in my heart.
Was that before he was realized?
Well, he had that I don't know. He had a very intimate relationship with Shamsi Tabriz.
Oh, yeah.
And that could have been happening even while he was realized, the two of them. This is for Hunter and Bradley.
Look who's awake.
This is Rumi. Again, someone asked, what is love? I said, don't ask about its meaning. You will see when you become we. Someone asked, what is love? I said, don't ask about its meaning. You will see when you become we. This is Baba here, which is why Baba is Baba, and we are a bunch of little eyes. My body is like fine gossamer through which the winds of the world freely pass. My body is like fine gossamer through which the winds of the world freely pass. That's Baba. This is Rumi again. If heaven rings with my cries, or deserts glitter with my tears, I am not to blame. You are my very soul. I run after you. Who could blame me for chasing my own soul? This is Rumi again. Tomorrow you say, I'll set out for you. Oh, tomorrow you say you'll set out for your true self. Fool, dive today from the cliff of what you know into what you can never know. You fear the rocks below? Better men and women have died on them. Dying on love's rocks is no nobler than a life of hesitancy. I better read that one again. Tomorrow you say you'll set out for your true soul. You fool, dive today from the cliff of what you know into what you can never know. You fear the rocks below? Better men and women have died on them. Dying on love's rocks is no nobler than a life of hesitancy. So Brad, got to climb up Mount Mitchell.
My walking sticks.
Hey, so anybody have anything? You have to apologize for my weird movements here. My computer all day is about 3 seconds behind the eternal now. Bradley or Hunter, you got anything that just comes to mind? Okay. Sometime
Jeff,
or other.
I had something that came to mind.
Yeah, go ahead.
I shared it with another group. It was a bit of an epiphany I had the other day, which was, you know how Baba would say when he has important work to do that Maya has to put up a big fight and that's necessary and good for his work?
Yeah.
So I thought, okay, this coronavirus must be like Maya putting up a great fight for the great like manifestation that Baba's love is going to have when he turns the switch on, you know? So like his manifestation is going to be like much bigger than the way the virus is spreading, but it's putting up a big fight right now.
Yeah, it would be great. It'd be beautiful. And it could very well be the case.
After all, Baba says love is contagious.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, you know, this comes to mind that the Mandali used to have me share this in Mandali Hall from time to time over the years. You might find it interesting, but it takes a little while to share. But it's about what Baba was doing with the women up on the hill. But does anybody else have anything to share first?
Jai Baba, I have one letter written by Einstein to his daughter on love.
Okay, yeah, good.
Would like to listen. Albert Einstein say, there is an extremely powerful force that so far science has not found and formal explanation to. It is a force that includes and governs all others and is even behind any phenomena operating in the universe and has not yet been identified by us. This universal force is love. When scientists looked for a unified theory of the universe, They forgot the most powerful unseen force. Love is light that enlightens those who give and receive it. Love is gravity because it makes some people feel attracted to others. Love is a power because it multiplies the best we have and allows humanity not to be extinguished in their blind selfishness. Love unfolds and reveals. For love, we live and die. Love is God, for love, and God is love. Love is God, and God is love. This force explains everything and gives meaning to life. This is the variable that we have ignored for too long. Maybe because we are afraid of love, because it is the only energy in the universe that man has not learned to arrive at with, drive at with. To give visibility to love, I made a simple simple substitution to my most famous equation. If instead of E equal to mc square, we accept that the energy to heal the world can be obtained through love multiplied by the speed of light squared, we arrive at the conclusion that love is the most powerful force there is because it has no limits. After the failure of humanity in the use and control of other forces of the universe that have turned against us, it is urgent that we nourish ourselves with another kind of energy. If we want our species to survive, if we are to find meaning to life, if we want to save the world and every sentient being that inhabits it, love is the one and only answer. Perhaps we are not yet ready to make make a bomb of love, a device powerful enough to entirely destroy the hate, selfishness, and greed that devastate the planet. However, each individual carries with them a small but powerful generator of love, whose energy is waiting to be released. When we learn to give and receive the universal energy, we will have confirmed that love conquers all, is able to transcend everything and anything, because love is quintessence of life. I love you and thank you. I have reached the utmost answer. Thank you.
Beautiful.
Yeah, Baba.
Yeah. Yeah. Einstein, I mean, in one of the old Awakener magazines, Einstein was quoted as saying, "No one knows what Meher Baba knows."
Wow.
So he, so Bradley and Hunter, you want to hear about the thing about the women mandali?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay. So when I first started working at the center, this is back in the mid-70s, I would be asked by women, some of them were Baba lover women, some from other spiritual backgrounds, what was Baba doing with the women? You know, he kind of kept them secluded for years. They didn't see or have interaction with men. They were up on the hill behind the behind the stone wall, and Mara couldn't hear the name of men for periods of time, very secluded, you know, and they would, what was Baba doing? Is this like a reenactment of the Muslim purdah, you know, where women are kept out of the way? Now, that bothered me. I didn't feel, you know, I didn't feel comfortable saying, well, that was just Baba's way, or it's all a mystery. I put before Baba, you know, I need to get an answer to this, Baba, really. And because it's an understandable question. What was Baba doing? So that was there, and some years went by, and on one of my trips to India, we went with, I think, Erich up to on a trip to Sakori. And that's where Upasni Maharaj's ashram was. And it was all these women who might kind of be like nuns. And it was run by the successor to Upasni, Gadavri Mai. So they gave us a nice lunch on, you know, we ate on these leaf plates and everything. But while I was there, I got a copy of Upasni Maharaj's discourses. And, I mean, there are a number of books, but I got this one. And in there, this is, you know, a discourse is probably around the turn of the last century, where Upasni Maharaj writes about the role of husband and wife in Hindu society. This is back in the, you know, way back when. And he depicts it as the, like there are three types of impressions, Sanskars, in the Hinduism. Probably Jasima and Shailaja probably know. One is the sattvic impressions. The sattvic impressions are very refined and innocent and pure impressions. Then the rajasic impressions are the impressions that are of action. And then the tamasic impressions are lust, greed, and anger, you know, the worst. So the Upasni says that the wife embodies the sattvic impressions, the innocent and pure and lighter impressions. And that's the proper suitable atmosphere for kids to grow up in. And in this society, the women stayed at home. So she cultivates those. Now the husband goes out and works in the world, and he picks up the rajasic impressions, which are the heavier impressions, which are the impressions of action. And then he said the complementary role of husband and wife is that she cultivates these sattvic impressions, the finer, more refined impressions, and the husband comes home and his heavier impressions that he's picked up from action get dissolved in that atmosphere. Does that make sense? Then see, Upasni had something like 72 women around in this ashram in his time. He said these women perform that same function for the world. The heavy impressions from the world come here to this ashram, and they are transmuted by the women who are here. Does that make, you follow that? I know this sounds funny because my speech isn't going along with my words. So I thought, wow.
It's actually on time now.
Oh, is it? Oh, good. Hey, Jeff, good to see you. No, a little bit late.
Perfect.
Put your hand down. So I thought, that's a possibility, you know? And so I went back to the center whenever I was asked. I would kind of give this as a plausible answer, that the women on the hill, or, you know, living the secluded life, were taking on the impressions of the world, and they were getting transmuted by this very, you know, very confined and, what want to say, very secluded life. So anyway, that was, I was able to say that. And then some years later went by, and a woman came to this, there was a woman in Colorado, and she had this past life. She woke up in the middle of the night. She had had a past life recollection in which she saw herself in the concentration camps, in the gas chambers. She saw herself and all of them around. She saw they were all grouped together, saying prayers and everything. And then together they all died, and they were lifted up, and they went as a group. They were in the afterlife. And as they were traveling, down below them, they saw this hillside with a few buildings, and it was a very heavenly place. And they felt actually it was so uplifting and purifying. And from down below one of the buildings, they heard this chant that was coming up from, radiating from down below, a very heavenly chant. And then they went on to the next phase of existence where they were, in their own kind of alone subjective state. So anyway, so she had this dream, and then she sometime afterwards, she heard of Baba, and she became a Baba lover, and she went to India. She signed in down at Lower Mehrabad, used to sign in down there, and she started up the hill. And as she started up the hill, she recognized this is the hillside we all came to, and she's going up. I mean, this is the place that they came from, right from the concentration camps. And as she came up to the tomb, every 2 weeks, this is back a ways, the women Mandali from Merazad would come to the tomb and pay their respects to Baba. So this happened to be one of those days. So she is coming up the hill. As she crests the hill and comes toward the tomb, the women Mandali, she didn't know who they were, are singing the same chant that was being sung in the afterlife, after coming from the concentration camps. So, I mean, you can imagine what that did to her. Wow. So that kind of confirmed all the more that, and here's the thing, the women Mandali, Baba, if you read, Baba's life, especially you can read this new book called The Blue Bus Tours. Baba in the morning would have the women sing for a half hour, sometimes an hour, the 7 names of God, and they would sing it in the evening, the 7 names of God. So, and this was during the war years, from 39 to 45, or even maybe a little bit before. So then, do you know, are you, Diane, and Terry, are you familiar with that song? I'll sing a couple of,
Only the one Michelle Schaefer sings.
What's that?
Only the one that Michelle Schaefer sings. 7 Names of God.
Oh, yeah, it might be.
She actually sent me the words today.
This is the one
that... Is it that one? Harifara.
Yeah. I'll just do... Oh, wow. Oh, wow, it's a little bit low. Haripara Mahatma Allah Urma Gada Yezadan. Wait, let me see if I can get I'm going to get a capo.
Oh, it's beautiful.
In the meantime, Inga can tell you a story, or maybe Priya can. Oh.
Well, I think this is amazing because I have a friend that's studying the Upasni Maharaj discourses, and he's been sharing some of this also, and he wanted to do like a gathering on the Zoom about it, and also this is awesome.
Yeah. No, that so I'll go on further, is that then, so this kind of really seemed to confirm this. And then a few years later, a woman came to the center, and we were in the refectory, and she said, I don't know, this seems kind of much lower. This, thank you. So a couple of years later, another woman came to the center, and she said that Mara had said that all those who went through the concentration camp passed through the upper room. Now she assumed that was the upper room at Marizad. Baba stayed in the upper room until after the second accident, and then he came down to the lower room. But Baba didn't go to stay in the upper room until maybe 1942 or something. But what I think is she was referring to the upper room on the converted water tower tank up on the hill where the women, the Western and Eastern women all lived. So that was kind of confirmed by what Mara said. Let's see. Hari Para Mahatma Allah Hurmat Gada Yezadan Hari Para Mahatma Allah Hurmat Gada Yezadan Hari Para. Oh, whoops. Uh-oh. Yikes, just a second. Sorry about that. I gotta get the chords on this thing. Hari, Hari, Hari. Hari Para Okay, one last time. Good that Priya didn't hear that. Hari Para Mahatma Allah Hurmat Gada Yezadantu Hari Para Mahatma Allah Hurmat Gada Yezadantu Hari Para Mahatma Allah Hurmat Gada Yezadantu Gada Yezadantu Gada Yezadantu. That was it. That's the chants that they heard. That's Baba's melody and words. When Baba was dictating that, they tried to give words, and they would try a note and that wouldn't be it, and they'd try a note and then Baba would. So can you imagine on silence being able to convey a melody?
Yeah, I always wondered about that.
Yeah. So the women were, here's the interesting thing too, is that the women were part of this larger work for the world, but they were not aware of it. I mean, they didn't know. Baba didn't say, I want you to do this because, you know, it's helping the world globally during World War II. they did it without knowing that they were participating in a larger work that Baba was doing. Yeah.
Jeff, did you ever reconcile that discourse that you read with Western civilization and the role of women in the West?
Oh, what do you mean?
Well, you know, you said like in that society, women stayed home, but obviously in the West, it's different.
Well, Baba said that the work that he was doing with the women on the hill, he said that women are man's equal, and he's going to raise the status of women in the world. So all of the women up there on the hill, that was a part of that work that he was doing. And look at what a change it is from the earlier times. I mean, you know, Priya is now a CEO of a major corporation, and you know, and she's got all these men kind of running around underneath her. And you know, Jay Sema is really, you know, he's you know, in a lower status now. And Shailaja kind of, you know, gets him to do all the work around the house. She writes the checks. But the beautiful thing is, I mean, as you know, Baba says we are both male and female, and when they're both fully developed in us, that's another description of realization. When your feminine and masculine sides are both fully developed. You know, so.
Wow. Do you know where he said that by chance?
In the discourses.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. In the discourses on the importance of the male and female incarnations, I think. So, Priya, you got anything?
I was wondering if you had any insights into the seclusion work that Baba did. I understand that there's not much written about it except the durations of seclusions. Do we have any insights into what he did?
Well, you know that he was working for not only just the world, but the universe in these seclusions. And, you know, just to kind of give you an idea, there was one guy named Krishna Nair. Nair, it is Nair. And he was one of Baba's night watchmen. And Baba was in the seclusion one time. I think it was in that tin shed up next to the tomb. And so he was only supposed to come when Baba rang a bell. So Baba was in there. Now, you were not allowed to interrupt him at all. But he thought that he heard the bell ring, and he came, opened the door, and what he saw, I mean, he described this to me, the light of 1,000 suns, and he just fell back completely. And Baba came out, grabbed him by the arm and twisted it in such a way. And he said, if Baba hadn't done, if I hadn't done that, you would have died. You would have dropped your body on the spot. And he would show you, Krishna would show you the distorted, whatever, bicep, whatever the heck that is. But what I mean is that inside there was the light of 1,000 suns. Baba must have been working, you know, in such an extraordinary level that the mere sight of it could, you could almost die. So, but how he did that work and all of the people that he contacted, all the great souls, we don't know any of the specifics. But you can imagine. Then another woman walked in on him and had the same experience, and her eyes were swollen for days. She didn't know whether she would be able to see it well again. So what I mean is that, but it was a work that the Mandali, Baba would go into seclusion, and they were not so privy of that. But here's one thing that did happen. One time at Merzad, Baba said that he was going to go do some work, like a seclusion work, and the place was prepared for him. And Baba said that he wanted Marwan to come, Marwan Jesawala to come when he was in the seclusion. So Marwan came in. I can't remember all the particulars of it. Marwan came in, Erich was there, and Baba told him to stand still, not move, and look at him. So Marwan is looking at Baba, and pretty soon Baba becomes like this blinding light, apparently, right there in front of his eyes, and he could barely stand it. He thought if it wasn't for his brother Erich standing there next to Baba, poised, he would have lost it completely. And so he's looking at this great effulgence, and after some time, Baba's hands came through the effulgence. First it was his hands, and then gradually the rest of his body came into view. I mean, Bradley does that every once in a while, but not like Baba. You know, he does, yeah, just every once in a while, you know. But so that's about as close as we have of that, of what Baba, that aspect of Baba. But normally the Mandali never saw any such thing. There may be other examples, but I have not heard of them. Yeah.
I got the sense of it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, wow. I'm still not in time, so to speak. Payam, what do you, and Diane and Terry, you have anything over there to?
Did you share
anything already today?
No. Like what's going on for us kind of thing?
Yeah, if anything you feel like sharing.
Well, I actually will talk about something.
You go, girl.
I had a friend tell me that she and her husband had gotten appointments for vaccinations. And here in California, that's like a golden ticket.
Yeah.
And in my mind, they didn't qualify they couldn't have told the truth. They couldn't have represented themselves correctly. And I've been spending all week, dozens of times a day on websites to try and get Terry an appointment, because as a dental hygienist, she's in the face of people. She's in one of the most dangerous. So to have this friend cavalierly tell me that she and her husband got appointments and they had a friend, I said, "You're not 65, are you?" And she said, "No, but a friend of ours who isn't either got an appointment, and when he went there, they just gave it to him rather than throw it out."
Yeah.
So we're just taking our chances. So I've found myself going from 0 to 100 in judgment like that.
Yeah.
And I said, "I can't have this conversation with you right now." And so it took me a while to think about it. And I realized I had gotten into major judgment. And so I let her know. And it was so amazing how the story changed. Even I had it in text. So it's like, not that I didn't hear it right, but all of a sudden husband was an essential worker and he was classified. It's crazy making. And I know that, I think it was Baba who said about when you're right to apologize is harder than when you're wrong and you apologize. Did I get that right?
Yeah, that's kind of like what the line is. It is nothing to give in when you are wrong, but it has spiritual value to give in when you are right. That's the quote, the unfortunate quote.
So that's kind of what I did by saying to her what was going on. And I, like 12 texts later, because obviously she was going through incredible guilt. And, but it was really interesting because it wasn't my job to make her feel better either.
Yeah. No, it's, I mean, these damn situations are always happening, you know, where someone does something out there that violates your values, even the socially, worldly accepted values. I mean, it's just going to happen. And now how you deal with it, that's the, you know, you hopefully can deal with it in the least binding way, which might be calling someone on something, or it might be not calling them. You know, sometimes you don't know until you've done the most binding one.
Well, I didn't send a text without having the sane one here read it before I hit the send button.
Yeah.
But I did say several times, let go, let Bubba take care of it. She's got her own karma, and so does her husband. It didn't exactly work.
Yeah. No, I know. I mean, I see these things happening all the time. I usually wind up not saying anything, only because it's more exhausting.
It is.
You know, but if it was like a, you know, but whenever I see a pattern in somebody, a pattern, not that they just do something once in a while, but they've been doing it for years, you know, I'll say, hey, I'm seeing a pattern here. You know, you've been shoplifting for years or something, and I'm gonna, once in a while, but once it becomes a pattern, I step in because I'm concerned about them. It's better when I'm concerned about them, you know, but those are very ticklish things. And Baba stages those things right in front of your eyes to see, you know, or life does, to see if you go, if you go for the hook, if you go for the bait. And it's hard to, yeah. Very good question, though. I mean, that's the type of thing. I mean, Inga has already got her vaccination because her husband's a doctor, you know. I mean, she's got it. No.
Nope.
No, you haven't. I know. But did Will get a vaccination? Because he's a doctor.
No, he did not.
Still not yet. Okay. Yeah. Oh, there's Alan. Oh, well, time Alan showed up.
Hey.
What you got? What you got going down there in California?
I'm trying to get my video started. 1 sec.
Inga, you have any anything that springs to mind? Anything that you feel like sharing?
Have anything
no pressure.
No, not really. I can tell you what I've been doing over the last few weeks. I have been drawing the dervishes.
Oh.
I mean, I'm like seeing them in my sleep, and I don't know, something something's happening in my meditations with Baba around the dervishes.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't.
So you're doing the God's eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jay Moeller.
Can you show this again, Inga?
Yeah. Can you see?
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, beautiful.
Beautiful.
Well, these are what can I say? These are not God's eyes. These are.
They're just watercolor. Well, this one's watercolor. I'll show you another one that I did with the world. This one's kind of neat. Can you see it?
Oh,
yeah.
Beautiful. No, these are great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been having these like images of the world. I have one more I'll show you. I've had a rough week. My sister passed this week. So it's been.
Oh, I heard. Oh.
Yeah, Baba's been very tender with me. Here's another one. Can you see?
Yeah. Yeah, beautiful.
With the dervish in the middle. See, he's upside down. But so I've been taking time painting and just loving on Baba and feeling gratitude for, you know, all of the different ways in which we go home.
Did you sense anything, any of your sister's presence since she's passed on?
Yeah, I feel like I was really witness to her soul transitioning over the 3 days after she left her, you know, after she died. I had this image. It's so beautiful that you're talking about the women mandali singing, because I really felt Baba calling me to sing to my sister. And so I was singing to her to turn to the light within her soul. And as I did, I had this image of, you know, me going into my garden with Baba and her turning into her soul, her light with Baba. And then it was like I had this understanding of what real union was, like beyond, you know, all things. Like it was one of the most beautiful moments that I think I've really experienced with Baba and with my sister.
Beautiful.
And I just had so much peace and felt like it was like in that moment I knew that her soul had returned.
Yeah.
Like completely. Yeah, it was really sweet. But really a gift, you know, that I could feel the union like in that moment, like beyond all things, that, you know, every time that we're with Baba, like within ourselves, that we really are at one with each other.
Yeah. Wow. Very touching that you got that. I mean, that you were able to get beyond the grief to actually be open to that truth, you know, that experience that truth.
Yeah, it was really amazing. I mean, I certainly wasn't expecting anything like that. You know, I definitely have had my share of moments of, you know, wailing and sobbing, you know, over the course of the last few days.
Yeah. Oh,
she was very young and it was very unexpected. So.
Yeah. There was Baba sent a cable with, I think it was Mabel who died. I think it might have been Delia's sister who died. And Baba said something like, you needn't grieve for Mabel. She is closer to you than when she was physically here. All she's done is taken off her coat and hat. That's what Baba said. So she, you know, on the other side, they can be much more easily with us than we can be with them.
Yeah, I believe that. I really believe that.
They're unencumbered and they can be right there with you, but we don't think that they could be there, but they actually are. You know, I found that with Bob Brown. When Bob Brown died, you know, where did he go? He was still here, even though I couldn't contact his body, but he's remained. You know, that his personality didn't end when his body went, you know. Personality is still here. Beautiful thing.
Just go. Just go.
Love never ends.
Go on.
Inga.
Yeah.
My sister passed about 10 years ago. And one of the big reasons I came to Baba was because I felt like she never left me. And to this day, she's with me. And when I heard Baba's words about dropping a body versus dying, it brought me to Baba. That's really what brought me. I think I forgot until you just talked about it, that's really what got me there. So, yeah, it was. So I'm just going to keep sharing for 1 second. So I was having like a little bit of a rough time, and I would write to her. And I said, I wish you were here to tell me like A, B, and C. And then I realized she had just told me A, B, and C. And I began writing letters. And then when I got to be with Barbara, I wrote it to both of them. But the first group of them were letters to a dead sister, because I didn't know any better yet. And yet she was always with me. And then when I met Barbara, I never needed to say that about her. I got to say that she dropped her body.
Beautiful.
The story goes on. I hope that I can tell it to you someday.
Yeah.
I really do, because it's long, but it's really wonderful.
Thank you so much.
Share a little bit.
Well, you're always welcome to. You don't. This is a. Yeah, I mean, you're welcome to share it now.
I'll go on then. So then Diane and I went to India, and I woke up one day and I said, I have to go to India. And Diane wasn't even into Baba then. And we go to India, and we're sitting to check in at the Pilgrim Center. And these 3 women come in who I've never seen such deep sadness in my whole life. And these 3 women, they're crying and they're just so intense. And like we thought we were going to go and feel light energy. And here we were feeling this very, very, very heavy stuff. And it ends up that it's a mother, a sister, and a wife of a fella that had passed away in his 40s. And they had gone to see someone who suggested that they go see Baba. And they were just so sad. It was so incredibly painful to be in their energy. And then the next day I got to see them at the Samadhi, and they were at Arti, and I went to talk to them, and I said, I don't know if this will help you now or if it will help you later, but I explained the story about how it helped me to know that he was still there with them. He just dropped his body. It was a coat and a hat. And I don't know that they could get it yet because they weren't into Baba quite yet, but I don't know. It just like, it was like it was given to me. And so I wanted to give it to them. And you gave me something tonight. So I thank you very, very much. Jai Baba.
Yeah, beautiful thing.
Yeah, I just was going to say, someone told me something a long time ago that, you know, when someone drops their body, you know, this idea that every time, you know, I embody like a character of my sister, that she, you know, it's like calling her essence or who she is into the area or the place of wherever I am. And I thought that was so sweet because my sister was probably one of the kindest people I ever knew on the planet. I mean, she was so sweet. I mean, would do anything for anyone. So I always think of that, you know, lately, like when I'm doing something nice or sweet for someone, I'm like, oh man, my sister would have done something like that. She was a really caring person. And just to remember those qualities about her are really helpful.
Would you mind sharing her name?
Yeah, her name is Kristen.
Kristen.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. Beautiful.
Oh, nice.
This is Hunter. The stories y'all are sharing moves me to share something that happened a couple years ago. You know, I had always experienced that whenever someone I love dies, it's like something of them traveled along the lines of love into me and became a part of who I am and how I live. And as I grieve, that becomes even more true. I had an experience a couple years ago where somebody had asked me to write my coming to Baba story. And I got to this point in the story where I couldn't write any further that night. And so I just couldn't tell the next piece, which was when my real Baba contact came into my life. And I just couldn't write that piece. And so I put the pen down, and within 5 minutes got a message that that person, my Baba contact, had died.
Oh.
And the grief was extraordinary. But I woke up the next morning and wrote the rest of the story. It was like his passing set free something in me that I was able to tell the next part of the story. And I wrote it out, and I turned to Brad and said, we have to get to the center. I have to be at Baba's bed. There's nowhere in the world I can be with this grief but at Baba's bed. And so we hopped in the car. We drove nonstop. It was right after the hurricane, the slow-moving storm had swept through Myrtle Beach. Mm-hmm. And everything was flooded, and you couldn't get in or out. There was one road through Conway left in. And we somehow, the estimates were that it would take 3 hours to get to the center. Somehow our navigation app took on this crazy little weaving, ever-changing back streets, and we got to the center in a half hour, 3 hours. We drove to Baba's house, you know, and at the closest parking we could get, I went in and I just fell in front of Baba's bed. And with that grief, and what happened was, as I looked up from the bed at Baba's picture that hangs over the bed there.
One I love. Mm-hmm.
The face, Baba's face, changed into the face of Elias, who had been my Baba contact. And it went back and forth physically from Baba's face to his face, to Baba's face to his face. And the voice that spoke silently in my heart said, I was everything true and beautiful that you loved in him.
Wow.
I was everything true and beautiful that you loved in him, and he is in me. And he has brought you deeper to me by stepping out of the way. That you can find that in yourself and find that in me and feel him in me and never be separated again. And
beautiful.
And it was like my grief, the force of my grief became a deeper expression of my love for Baba. And now whenever I go to Baba, I feel him as woven through my love for Baba, you know, as the deepest part of it, you know, that his love for Baba is now my love for Baba. And that Baba used him as a beautiful, precious, temporary bridge to bring me into that.
Beautiful. Oh, man. Wow. 3 touching stories. My God. No, it's beautiful what we do. We're more to each other than we would ever know if we, sometimes we don't find out, except in special times, maybe even with their passing. We, you know, boy. Wow. Yeah, I've been with a lot of the Baba people when they have passed on. And surprisingly enough, you'll find this in yourself, that we're living on the physical plane, but a lot of where we live from is from the inner realm. The love that we have, the inspiration, a lot of these things that are remembrance of Baba's coming from the inner dimension. And so when the Baba people come up to the last days of their life, it's not like a 1,000-foot drop off. You know, you look over and you've been over there. You've been living from there all along because of Baba, and the Baba people are so at peace. They're not frightened at all. I mean, I've probably been to, you know, maybe 35 people, Baba people who passed on, and they are never frightened of death because they've spent so much time in that inner dimension, living from there, even though it's coming through their physical body down here. And, you know, it's extraordinary. So we have a beautiful, it's just like shifting your weight from one leg to the other. You know, to die is just shifting your weight from one leg to the other as you straddle the inner and outer world. No, it's beautiful. Wow. Yeah. Wow, so we got Ganesh is showing up. He's from Pune.
Yes. Jai Baba.
Yeah. And everybody is invited to Priya after the pandemic to Goa. We'll all go down there and live it up. Eat fish, the best fish and everything. Go visit St. Xavier's, you know, church and all that, or his body that's still there. And Alan, you have anything, or Ganesh, anything?
I'm just landing in, hearing everybody's wonderful stories.
Oh, so you heard that, yeah.
And sharing, yeah. It reminds me of when I think it was Alan Wagner that shared the story about his deep connection with his grandmother, and how close he was to her, and I guess having some sort of dream or vision or something like that, where he was walking into a place that he recognized, and he was, you know, he saw through the window the back of his grandmother's hair, you know, like, and then when he turned the corner and walked inside, it was Baba, and he said, "Who do you think you've been loving all these years?" You know, and he knew then that he could experientially feel that he was loving Baba all those years through his grandmother. And yeah, for me in that moment, it was just a random moment. You know, I saw it come up on the Mayher Center website, and I think I was on my way to work or something, and I watched that 10-minute little thing, and it hit me so deeply, because I had a similar story of being so close to my grandmother, and just she passed so unexpectedly. She asked my uncle, "Can you grab me a cup of coffee?" And he said, yeah, here. And he grabbed it and he was passing it to her, and she leaned forward to grab it. She just left on an out breath. And her body was still warm when I went to go see her. And it was so surreal. Like, I just wasn't ready for that, you know. And it was before I was a Baba lover. But anyways, when I came to see that video, I just like, it was as if, you know, it was so beautiful that his story, Alan's story, just from him sharing from his heart and his experience on through video, right there in that moment, it relieved me of this thorn in my heart of holding on to, I don't know, maybe like this resentment towards God, or something, some story I had wrong, you know, this wasn't right. And I just wept and wept and wept. And I felt like, yeah, it was just it was beautiful to be able to let go and to really see that she's here in my heart all the time, just as Baba is. So it was, you know, it was like Baba, it's just those little gifts that I really appreciate. And even listening tonight, people sharing, and, you know, it touches deep places in myself. So thank you very much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can incorporate all of the people we've loved in us if we don't believe in death. You know, they're still all here, you know. The Mandali are still here. They're all here, and yeah.
Yeah, when you watch those videos, like when I watched those videos of Erich recently, I'm just looking at his eyes, I'm looking at like his skin, I'm like, it's just unbelievably familiar. Unbelievable. I'm like, you, man, you. And I just sometimes I'm like, I can't believe I'm looking at you again. You. And he's just so, I just like the little the little movements, and it's like, it's you.
Yeah.
And yeah, no, it's beautiful that we have this technology. It's Baba's gift for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Anyone have anything that comes to mind? You know, there was I'm trying to think of whether well, I kind of shared this earlier, the idea of it from during Effort and Grace. So I might I might save it for, well, I mean, Mayor Prasad was there. Mayor Prasad, are you still alive there? There he is. There he is.
Just listening in.
Yeah. Did you do you know the things I said at the beginning of Effort and Grace? Do you think that's of any interest here? It's a little bit esoteric. Huh?
Remind me which ones. I'm sure they are. So.
Well, you know, like where Darwin would say, don't think of yourself as a base of operations. Think of yourself as a conduit, as a vehicle. You remember
I think
that?
Yeah, I think that's super helpful for even, you know, even if it's repeated again and again. I like that. So
well,
sure.
I'll mention it to Bradley and Hunter. That they're you know, they're kind of spiritual junkies. So anyway, I a buddy of mine and I, it's another whole story, but we wound up living in Schenectady, near Darwin and Jean. And that was when I first heard Darwin say, I'm a young kid, this is 1970, that don't think of yourself so much as a base of operations. Think of yourself as a conduit, as a vehicle. Now that was kind of a new, I mean, as a young kid, that's a new concept to me. I hadn't really gone there. And he comes out with it. And, you know, basically he's saying that the personality self, most people take as their base of operations. You know, I'm Hunter, and I operate. I got this thing going here, and Bradley's got his thing going over there, and you know, you got your own little. You're the base of operations. Well, here's Darwin saying, think of yourself as a vehicle with love with life coming through you, rather than coming from you, coming through you. That's a different paradigm altogether. And so I used to ask him about that, because I know there was a truth to it, but it wasn't, I knew that just getting the words was, I had to get the feeling of it. What does it mean to be a vehicle? You know, and I remember asking him one time, and I could actually see that when he was talking about it, he was talking about it from another realm coming toward me. In other words, when he was being a vehicle, as he was telling me about being a vehicle. I don't know if that makes sense. In other words, it wasn't just talking like most people, you know, the words are coming out of him. The words were coming from a deep place through him to me. So this is what I kind of gathered from Erich and Darwin and Dr. Harry Kenmore. Now this is just a couple of years later. Harry Kenmore was one of the Mandali as well. Baba said he would be a perfect master in his next life. You know, he was an incredible guy, but he said that the mind, I don't, you know, the timing is crazy here. The mind is actually outside of our body, and with its thoughts and its imagining and its memories, and it uses the brain as its vehicle. Thoughts don't come from the brain. They come from outside, and they use the mind as a vehicle. And Darwin kind of expanded on that. Our feelings and desires and emotions are outside of us. Whoop, I can't. Outside of us, and they use the heart as the vehicle. So, I mean, so that feelings and emotions don't come from the heart, they come through the heart. Now, and so we have this bubble of impressions. Our conditioning is like a bubble around us. And those impressions, those sanskars, that conditioning is always kind of making us think, and it's getting us to feel and desire things. But then Darwin brings this up, that Baba's love is everywhere. It's not just in our bubble, it's outside, it's up above us, and it's down below. So when Baba's love comes through the brain, comes through the mind, let's say, through thought and emotion, thought and memory and imagination, when love hits the thought, it becomes an inspired thought. It gets illumined. The imagination acquires a high degree of creativity when love strikes it. And when love strikes the memory, you have a beautiful writing that can come out of that. Now, when love strikes the feelings and emotions, you get, instead of just the sanskaric emotions and the sanskaric feelings, you get the divinely human qualities that come through. So you get, you know, empathy, compassion, kindness, forgiveness, all of the higher human qualities. When that love hits these things, they are elevated to that higher state. Does that make sense? We are actually a vehicle. We could be a vehicle if we could get over the idea that this is coming from me, rather than this is coming through me. So Darwin's whole thing in the book is about, you the book is about becoming a vehicle for Baba's love. I don't know if that, and so clearing away. Oh, here's the other thing: desire. When love hits desire, it purifies desire. It becomes spiritual longing. It becomes our lofty ideals. It becomes an awakened search for the divine. So all these things, that when they get purified by love coming through, they're all elevated. So the whole thing is trying to be as receptive to love as possible so it can come through us without hitting so many impediments. And it's like, I think of it as like the sun on an overcast day, we say the sun isn't out, but the sun is there, but our sanskaric overcast skies keep it from penetrating. But if there's an opening in our sanskars, that light comes through and it illuminates everything that it hits. That's kind of the inner dynamic. So there's a beautiful line from Mother Teresa that captures this beautifully, where she says, Mother Teresa says, "I am a little pencil in the hand of a writing God, sending a love letter to the world. I am just a little pencil in the hand of a writing God, sending a love letter to the world." Beautiful, captures all of that. Anyway, that was, I don't know if I found this kind of stuff very helpful for tracking my interior. If I kind of felt that things were coming through me rather than from me, and how love is different from our sanskaric actions, our sanskaric thought. That is always happening. But when love hits these things, they are all brightened and illumined. Baba's love, yeah.
Yeah, there's an aspect of what you're saying, Jeff. I was just reading in the discourses because I had thought that I read something somewhere where Baba was saying in there about when there are disturbing thoughts or desires or surging sanskaras that kind of, I don't know what the word is. You're just like in an ocean of choppy water, and you can't necessarily stop yourself from having these surges. And I think all of us have our own ways of dealing with it. Or, for me, I think something like that comes over, my mind, and then it makes me do a certain action that I know and I've seen 100 million times, and I'm more aware of it now with Baba. And oh, there's my cat. I don't know if you can hear her. She's yelling her new song this month. So, but yeah, I was looking for that because I know he had said something, and then I finally found that section, and he was saying that it's very important to watch. You can have these surging thoughts and desires and intense choppy waters, but just watch over your actions. And I was like, well, yeah, Baba, but sometimes that doesn't, I can't always do that. sometimes
the word is frustration.
Yeah, like sometimes it just kind of happens, and you just can't help that argument from happening, or whatever, even something positive, I don't know. But I guess it slows down with what you're saying. With the more that we think of him and are observing our actions more and more, we maybe don't fall into that same. What did you say? You said something a long time ago where you're like kind of walking around in a circle and tripping over the same rock again and again in the same spot. And you're like, why does this keep happening? Why does this keep happening? And you're like, well, why do you think? But I mean, everyone else could see it clearly except you, I guess, sometimes. But I don't know. I think what you're saying about even that though, where do you think that plays in with, like, you know, Baba through us in that moment kind of moves the boat to be just to hit some friction, and that's just the way it was going to happen. You were just going to have that argument, you were going to have that motion, or, you know, it just, that maybe in itself was also part of the play of your divine love story with him, even though it looked really ugly, or I don't know.
Well, I mean, I think of the Sanskars, they knock us this way and that, and we bump into things. If love can come in there, we don't quite bump into as many things. You know, say you live in a big city and, you know, there's so much noise and honking and all of that, just in a big city in a downtown area. But if you wake up in the morning and it snowed overnight, there's kind of a quiet mute. Everything, all the sounds are muted by the snow. So when love comes in there, the same thing is happening, but it's all kind of muted and not as out of control. You know, but I don't, but I do feel, and Erich was very clear about this, take Baba into all your bad traits and take them into your good traits. Whatever you do, and even if you're disobeying him, take Baba in with him. Don't leave him, don't leave him at the door and go in and take him to everything. Really. Yeah. Because that mutes everything. And if we're going to grow out of something toward a greater love, that's the way it happens, you know. That's my feeling.
Yeah.
Take him everywhere. Even to go, I would take him to go if I had to. or Connecticut. Connect with him. Anyway, anyone else have anything? Ganesh has been pretty quiet. Terry or Diane, anything else up that way?
I think we're good.
Huh?
I think we're good.
Marinaz, you don't have to say anything.
No, I'm going to say something.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, today's effort and grace was pretty touching towards the end. It was, you know, all the conversation that was going on, it really touched my heart quite deeply. And then we come to Arti, and then we hear, you know, Betty was crying. I mean, she was affected under the, you know, with the concert that was going on this morning. She was still under so much influence of Baba's love that she still couldn't stop herself from crying. And these are all divine love that comes through by tears. And it was just so beautiful. It was such a wonderful day. We are really blessed to have such a platform to come together and hear each other's voice and be inspiring and loving and support each other through things that we go through the pain that we're going through, and just being there for each other. I think it's just so lovely, so beautiful, and I thank Baba so much for the opportunity.
Yeah. You know, I think of, this is kind of my feeling, I think of the masculine side of us, and a lot of men kind of identify with their masculine side, is God in us, Baba within us. And the feminine is Baba in each other. And of course, the world has been so masculine dominated. And this here is Baba in each other, you know, the care and responsiveness. And that's a beautiful thing. You know, you can't, it's not like you can just have the one. Both of them, Baba in me and Baba in each of you, you know. But Mayor Prasad, what does he have to say? Anything that...
One thing that has been occurring to me over the past few days is an effacement. And I shared that quote of Baba, I think a few days back somewhere, you know, the quote where he says, "The way of my work is the way of effacement. It's the way of strength, not of weakness. And through it, you become mature in my love." I feel that this process that Baba does of effacement is happening in everyone's life across the entire world. But when we remember him, that process becomes a little bit easier for us to go through and digest. And you know, when we are more resigned to his will, the effacement becomes a little bit bearable. And if we are happy in that, it makes Baba's work much easier. You know, a lot of times people don't realize that this is what is going on because it's happening. I feel that it's happening all the time. You know, somebody in your life does something to make that happen. You know, it could be your wife, sister, brother, parents, you know, friends, children. You know, it's happening all the time. But we have to be aware of that this is what is happening, and give that to Baba, and it becomes, I feel that then it becomes a little bit easier for us and for Baba to make more progress there.
Yeah, beautiful. You know, in my morning, I have my own kind of version of what I say to Baba in the morning and all that, but I never feel my prayers or my morning interview with Baba is complete until this word goes through my mind. But these words, "You're just a joke." When I hear when I hear myself say, "Jeff, you're just a joke," I have that's the note that ties it all together. But here, this is a beautiful thing here that we read today. But I found it very interesting how how Darwin said this. It is at the level. Well, I'll have to back up a little bit. Baba especially emphasized the importance of keeping the heart center open. This is where the spiritual path begins in a conscious way, because it is through the heart that we become conscious of sanskaras at the level of feelings and desires. It is at this level, the level of the heart, that we can experience the fullness of divine love, beauty, freedom, and bliss. Then he says, coupled with self-effacement, which is the letting go of the idea of a separate self. What a way to define self-effacement is letting go of the idea of a separate self. You know, if you think that everybody is you, or everybody is Baba, and that you're not separate, everybody, you know, you don't end at the end of your skin and someone else begins. It's all one playing field. And everybody, we're all each other. then there's no separate self. And that there was that quote from this is that when I read of Rumi. Someone asked, "What is love?" I said, "Don't ask about its meaning. You will see when you become we." When you become we. Erich always used to say we. Said, I don't know, I always had the habit, I would say, when we would be with Baba, he sometimes he would say I, but he would mumble under his breath, we. You know, when we were with Baba, we were this. He was into the we. Hey, well, we're keeping up Inga kind of late. She's got the 3 kids that are running around jumping on the sofas. But you know what she's done? She's put Velcro on the ceiling. So that when they jump on the beds, you know, they're left hanging by their hair.
I just
Clever.
put them to bed. They were still awake.
Yeah. Her kids are so great because you see them riding all over the center on their bikes. I mean, it is so delightful. And they just go around and they go places and they explore and they're driving and then they hop off their bikes and they go inside a kitchen and get something. Then they run out again. And it's the life of the center that is not happening right now because there's nobody there. I miss the kids on bikes.
Well, you'll see them. We're coming Friday. You'll see them. We're bringing our bikes.
Oh, yeah. Oh, good.
We miss you.
We got Prakash is still over there in Hyderabad or Andhra State. We won't be back till March. Now, Shireen's Fire. I don't know who Shireen's Fire is. Huh. I don't know if you see that on your gallery. Payam, you got anything to tell us?
Hi, Jeff. I'm washing dishes.
Oh. Is it making sense? Anything we're saying makes sense?
Everything, all of it makes sense. You know, I felt, especially today, I just drenched myself in Baba because I needed it. And I forget sometimes that he's so available. And I get caught up in my, you know, work and this and that. So yeah, you're just, all of you reminding me how available he is. And we have to like invite him. Come on. Or I have to, however you say it. It's my remembering him, I guess. That's it. It's so beautiful when he's.
Yeah. Yeah, you wouldn't think that you would have to invite him in, but love, this is my feeling, love prevents him from just barging into your house. You know, he's at your door with infinite knowledge, power, and bliss, but he can't just barge in and take over. You know, love prevents him from doing that. So if you invite him in, hey, you can come right in.
Yes.
You wouldn't think. Yeah.
Jeff.
Yeah.
Baba says, I'm sleeping within you. And it's only when you take my name or that you remember me that I wake up and I can't sleep. I keep wondering, what does he really mean by that?
Well, I think what he really means is that we are asleep to him. He's just being kind of compassionate. In other words, Baba's already wakened us, but we are not awake to him. But by saying his name, by saying his name or any kind of remembrance, we start to wake up to the fact that he's been with us all along. You know, when the clouds lift, you realize the sun was there all morning, you know. So he says that like he has to be awakened, but we're waking ourselves, and we help him to awaken us too.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I had another question.
Yeah.
That's a big one. Maybe not.
No, go for it.
So many things happen to us, right? Because of our sanskaras and, you know, our karmic life cycle. We lose people, things happen to us. We experience things, be it rejection, be it abandonment, and that eventually at some points lead to questions of unworthiness, feeling unloved, and thus we are seeking love, etc., etc. I'm wondering, with all that, how do you obey Baba, and how do you love and open yourself up to all the possibilities of love? Because that baggage exists.
The what exists?
The baggage of the past exists. And Baba says that don't look behind, just keep moving forward, because, right, this moment is it. But there is so much of us which is in a way conditioned by what has happened to us. And sometimes it's easy to console and make peace with the fact that, well, none of this is really real. But it's that the truth of the fact that the world is so illusory, it's not that tangible all the time. So I'm wondering what distinctions or, you know, what do you use to let go of that and to then completely operate from a place of love, from a place of that everything is possible and that you're worthy of it all.
The thing is that you don't have to lose anything. Your love can cover it all. Your love can still be there for the people you have lost and who have passed on or who have rejected you, all of that. The love does not have to end. I mean, this world is illusory, but the love we express in this world is real. The love we express in this world is real. And as much of this world that you can embrace, you won't lose anything. I don't know what, well, I'll tell you, when I was in college, this is back in the 60s, I was in New York, and I had just gotten into Baba, and I was quite young, and I had 3 days in which I saw the whole world as an illusion, as a dream. It was awful because my heart could not invest in anything that was not real. I mean, just somehow that's what the way my heart says, well, how can I get into this if it's an illusion, if it's not real? But Baba somehow convinced me that even though it's unreal, it deserves your most loving attention and everyone in it. You know, that's, so you can embrace all of life and not be bound by it. But like I say, if you have things in your past that you're not happy with and everything, send love that way. Send Baba's love that way. Don't let the, this is my way. If you cringe every time you think of the terrible things you did or the bad things you did, or you lost this one or that one, that just confirms that falsehood in your consciousness. Just, go back and reclaim it all in Baba's love. I don't know if that makes any
Beautiful.
sense. The past and the future can all be reclaimed with love, rather than, oh, well, that phase of my life is done with. Oh, shut the door on it. You won't be able to shut the door on it. This is my feeling, until you embrace it with love. I don't mean that you spend all this time in your past rooting through things and trying to love it. But when the past comes to your present, what I do when my less desirable things in my past come to my present, I bring Baba's love to them. That way I don't have to cringe every time it comes back.
So just sense? Jeff,
yeah.
Jeff, on that, what you say in past. So because what happens, the human mind plays so much. Like a hypothetical example is like, that time I should have, like 20 years back, I could have bought this bigger house, and oh, that was so cheap, I took a bad decision. Oh yeah, this is what I did, and that could have done. I should have made more money, or all that things that play in your mind. So how do you send love to that? How do you send love to that and just silence those things?
Well, it's like you don't deal with it from the mind. You go down to how it makes you feel that you lost that beautiful house overlooking Goa. You lost that house. It's more how it makes you feel. And then you send the love in Baba's name to that feeling. Because if the feeling gets resolved, you won't be pestered by the thoughts. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So
because
so if you can
sending love to that feeling.
Yeah. And it takes self-compassion. It takes a sense of humor. It takes a lot of things. But when you're not so bound up with it, when you've kind of resolved it. But I think that resolving it not with a sword, but with love. Not chopping it off, but reclaiming it with Baba's love. All your mistakes, the terrible things you did.
Suppose. So I don't know. Is it with everybody or is it just with me?
No, that was you. Yeah, you're good now.
Okay. Yeah, no, it's better. So I'm trying to understand it better. Sorry if I'm just trying to get what you said. It's like you have this feeling, oh, there I could have done better. Oh, here I shouldn't have done this, or I shouldn't have been that bad over there, or I shouldn't have been hard on myself there. Now you have all this baggage that you're carrying to in this present moment and thinking, oh, life would have been better if I would have done this. So this would have been better if I would have done this, all that. So how do you put that baggage to rest? Like, you said send love to that feeling. I'm still trying to get that clearly.
It takes work. It's not like a one-shot deal. You cheated on an exam in college and you got caught. And so the thought of that is just, that could be emblazoned on your consciousness for the rest of your life. And you have to send Baba's name. You have to forgive yourself. There's self-compassion is a critical element in this whole thing. But you're working on it at a feeling level, how it makes you feel. Like I say, if you can resolve the feeling bit by bit with love, then the thoughts won't come back and haunt you and force you to be up in your head, which is only a three-dimensional experience of life. At the heart level, it's a multidimensional experience. It's much more expansive. So
Jeff,
even if you can get it down to the feeling level, even if you don't like the feeling, the feeling is more expansive than the limitations of being stuck in your head with your thoughts. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah, I'm getting
I mean,
it.
this came right from Erich.
Jeff, should we take that as a will of Baba? I mean, that's the will, like what Ganesh is saying, we had made bad decisions, such and such things. Should we take it as a will of Baba?
Well, everything that's happened up to this moment was Baba's will. You can be sure of that.
So if you give a good example of like cheating an exam.
Yeah.
Give that good example. So means I know I cheated with all awareness in that moment. Okay, as an example I'm giving. You cheated with all awareness. I cheated with all awareness in that moment. Now, how do I take it as will of Baba?
The thing is that taking it as the will of Baba, that is not usually the approach that I can use. I mean, you can say that everything up to this moment was God's will, Baba's will, but that's just a thought. That thought won't stop the memories of this stuff kind of cycling through. So you can call it God's will or Baba's will, but that it's probably not going to help you that much. It's more of a working at emotional level. I mean, that'll help you a little bit, but if the feeling is still there, the disturbed feeling of guilt or remorse, feeling lousy about it, then you might call it God's will or Baba's will, but you still got the baggage.
Yes.
So you gotta clear it out of your system. You follow?
Yes.
I mean, I've had to do that with a lot of things, especially in my college days. I was kind of so I've had to do a lot of work.
Hey, there's a story I can you guys are reminding me of. If you'd like, I could share it.
Yeah.
My cat might come in here and start meowing. But this is Naju Kotwal, I believe. Is that her name?
Yeah.
Yes, Kotwal.
Kotwal.
Yes.
And so when she was in school, I'm sure you know this story, but it's just reminding me of what you're saying. She was in school and she was studying, and she really wanted to be a doctor, and she really was studying for that. And Bob had asked her, what now that you finished this part of your schooling, what do you want to be? And she said, well, Baba, I really, really want to be a doctor. Like I just feel like I totally can do it, and I really want to do that. And he said, I want you to be a nurse. And she was like, but Baba, like, I want to be a doctor. And then, basically at some point she went to Mara and she said, Mara, can you please ask Baba to kind of, she tried to she knew in her mind that if she was to ask Mara, that it would happen. So she went to Mara and she said, could you ask Baba to, have me be, study to be a doctor? And so she, Mara, just being innocent and just pure, just went to Baba, was like, Baba, why don't you just let her be a doctor, And Baba said, okay, fine, she can be a doctor.
Baba
so she went.
Couldn't refuse.
Yeah.
And a lot of people knew that. Believe me.
So she went to school for 2 years, thinking that she stumped Baba, and she was studying her exams, and she was so good at the material that she was, tutoring other people, and everybody just thought, she was at the top of her class, and everyone, she did not assume anything would go wrong for the finals or anything like that. And when she took her finals, she missed the bar by 1/4 of a point. 1/4 of a point. So she could not be a doctor. Mm-hmm. And so Here's my cat's gonna start freaking out. Hopefully. Hey, Bella. You yeah. Yeah. But basically, so she goes back home, and she's trying to keep a strong face for her mom. But then when she sees Pendu, she just starts breaking down and just weeping and weeping and weeping. And he's like, he feels so bad, and he's hugging her, and he's like, why don't I make you some food? And he like makes this like potato onion fried thing, and he's like, here, take it, and he wraps some newspaper around it, and he gives it to her, and she's like, okay, thank you, and she's wiping her tears, and she goes to the tracks where she would used to hang out with her sister, and you know, she's crying, so, and then she finally stops, and she decides maybe I should take a bite of food, and so she starts eating it, you know, and she feels a little better, and when she's done or something, she kind of looks down at the newspaper, kind of catches her eye, and it was like, it was an advertisement for, you know, this nursing agency that was basically like all of the things that she had done. They're like, we're looking for somebody for these things. If you've done this, please come to us. We need you now. And so she called, or she actually went back to Pendu, and instead of telling him what she was thinking of doing, she said, hey, can I have, you know, a letter and some other material to send this letter? And he's like, to my friend. That's what she said for some reason. And he said, sure. So she sent the letter, and it came back. And Baba wasn't at Meherzad or Meherbad. He was on tour or something. And the letter came back. A reply came back 7 days later. And in fact, when she received that letter and she opened it up, Baba had arrived that day. And it said, you have immediately been accepted. We don't need an interview. Just you got it. That's it. Like you're in. Please come. You know, bring your stuff. And Baba, basically, she went up to Baba and said, you know, I got into this school, and he looked at her with like a very kind of devilish look, and he said, I asked you to come like this, and he grabbed his ear, but instead you went like this. And he went around and he grabbed this side of his ear. And so she knew. Oh, but then when she was on her way out, he also, with all the money that Baba had been sending to her, because Erich Jesawala's Papa Jesawala had been taking care of her and had only been giving her 4 annas a day, just nothing, and she was just barely able to. And he was like, he said something like, you know, a woman shouldn't get this amount of money because she'll just spend it on things that she doesn't need. And then he was sending it back to Baba. But anyways, all that, Papa was sending it back to Baba. And then after all that time, all that money that Papa had sent back to Baba, Baba decided, now that you're going to be a nurse, and I'm so proud of you, I'm going to buy you a nice, like, Swiss watch. And so he buys her this watch, and he places it on her wrist, and he wraps it, and he just warms her with all this love and sends her off. And she apparently still has the watch, and it's still ticking to this day. But just the beauty of like how she disobeyed, and she felt so bad. She felt so bad about disobeying him. You know, she knew he had given her an order, and she just disobeyed him. But she still knew that was going to happen, and so. I don't know. I just felt it was so beautiful because he knew that she was going to disobey, and she didn't know. She was just like, I can do this. I could do this. And I feel like that's how I am in my life all the time. Like, Baba, I got this. Just let me do this. I can figure it out. And Baba says, okay. And then it's like this thing. I'm going around grabbing my own ear from the other side. It could be easier by, like what you're saying, Jeff, just to come back to him again and again. But
beautiful.
I don't know.
No, I remember that. She was a darling person.
Did she pass?
I think she has passed. I mean,
she just passed last year.
What?
Quite elderly.
And it was.
I went to see her in Bombay, and she was so sweet and loving and everything, even though her mind was pretty much gone.
Wow.
You know, but the graciousness and the sweetness and the Baba being her everything, was always there.
Wow.
Even though I'd known her over the years so much, but she didn't quite. I don't think she recognized me, but I didn't push it.
What about her sister?
Hilla.
Sister is in US, is in London. Yeah, she's doing well. She's got old, but she's there. She's doing well.
I'd like to meet Hilla one day.
Inga is going.
Hilla.
I'd like to meet her one day.
Yeah. Well, that was beautiful. I mean, there's so many lovely stories that Baba that spring up in all directions from Baba. Hey, well, I think we're getting up to about that time. Anyone have any last thing?
Can I say a short thing? This is just
go ahead. Yeah.
This is just my personal experience, so it may not resonate with anyone. But whenever I think of anything that comes from the past, I always feel that that is really an event that brought me to Baba or brought me closer to him. So I feel that actually turns into a gratitude that he did whatever he did in that event actually brought me closer to him. So most of the time you turn that feeling into a feeling of thankfulness for bringing that event in your life to him. This has been my experience.
Yeah, beautiful. That takes a while, for us to kind of see those types of truths in this fabric, this unfolding fabric. One time I'll confess this, but I can't. I did something very bad, and I mean, it was so bad. Erich didn't even want me to. I said, I want to be honest about this with others, and he said, no, don't. But it had a tremendous. It was like a psychic shock that created, and I felt like I was, for a couple of years, I was wearing a football helmet. I felt like the weirdest sensation. And one of my trips to India, I shared this with Erich, and horrible. Why did this happen? And blah blah blah. And I left India, and I felt terrible, even spending so much time in the tomb trying to give this whole thing to Baba. I came back the next year. This is the second year, and I was with Erich in Mandalay Hall, and I said, Erich, why did this have to happen in my life? It's caused me so much suffering, and it's just done a weird thing to my head and all of that. And Erich looks over at me and he says, but you've grown. And I said, Erich, how can you say that? What do you base that upon? I don't feel I've grown. What makes you say that? And he puts his hand on my shoulder and he says, now you can't hold your head so high. Now you can't hold your head so high. So even a lot of these terrible things, they bring us down and make us humble. And he was able to see that.
Wow. So did that comment help you, or was it still a slow tapering?
I saw it. I saw the truth of it right away.
Yeah.
So sometimes these things happen. After that, whenever I did things that were, like Ganesh, you're talking, and Jasima, these things that we do that we wish we hadn't done in the past, they give us compassion. Baba turns it into compassion. You can turn it into guilt if you want, but actually Baba will turn it into compassion for others. Because you've done this and you see someone else who's done this. When you might have been critical of them, judgmental of them in the past, now you can empathize with them. So he even turns our weaknesses into compassion for others. That's been my experience.
That's really helpful, Jeff. Thank you.
Really, I mean, if I hadn't done a lot of the things I did, especially in college days, I would have not been able to relate to a lot of my fellow beings. I laugh, but I mean, oh, Baba. I mean, some of the stuff I'm just positively ashamed of, but it doesn't. I don't dwell on it. It makes me. I get a flush of embarrassment, but it's not hours of embarrassment, you know. But it does give you compassion for others, and that is, I think, the highest form of human love. Empathy. So if you do everything all right and you do all, you know, there are a lot of people do everything right, but they can't quite relate to people that are doing things wrong. You know, they're kind of judgmental. I mean, or they just plain can't relate to them. I had a buddy of mine that just, you know, he was here in Myrtle Beach who was, you know, really upset by the divorces that were happening, you know, and, you know, quite upset with it. Why are people, you know, Baba wants us to stay together. Why are people divorced? And then a year later, he got involved outside of his marriage and his marriage fell apart. So now he knows that he never was judgmental after that. Had nothing but compassion for those. I mean, he's quite open about it. I did the same thing myself. Yeah, Diane.
I was sent this little quote, so can I share it?
Yeah, go for it.
It's written by somebody, I don't know the name. I don't know who it is. Do not be dismayed by the brokenness in the world. All things break and all things can be mended. Not with time, as they say, but with intention. So go, love intentionally, extravagantly, unconditionally. The broken world waits in darkness for the light that is you.
Yeah, I read that recently. I don't know where, but beautifully. But there's no attribution, is it?
No, there is. It's just not anybody I knew. It's, maybe you know it, L-R-K-N-O-S-T, Nost.
Yeah, don't think I know, but that's a beautifully written. Read it once again.
Do not be dismayed by the brightness. Wait, so sorry. Do not be dismayed by the brokenness in the world. All things break and all things can be mended. Not with time, as they say, but with intention. So go, love intentionally, extravagantly, unconditionally. The broken world waits in darkness for the light that is you.
Yeah, beautiful. Wow, lovely. Yeah, I read that somehow recently too. I don't know where, but
for me, it was Facebook.
Oh, that's probably what happened. Okay.
Well, I think one thing, Jeff, when you said the story, I know it's very profound and important, and what you got the point was so important. But you know what? Certain times, just that little sentence which Jeff told you, the most important thing he said, now you can't hold your head so high and all that. It takes 2 years, 2 months for the entire process to go, and then he gives you in that one moment, he says, and everything it's like the dust settles finally. But the amount of times these things take is something which actually surprises. Like it takes 2 years, and sometimes, oh, why didn't it strike me? Why it took me so long? And that's the humor part, or that's the whatever you can say. That's the most puzzling part or whatever. But it takes years and years, and then you realize, oh, why didn't it strike me earlier?
Yeah, I mean, I would have been bearing that for years longer if Erich hadn't, speaking from the very depths of him, if he hadn't said that and gave me that truth, I would have still been dragging that around for years. I wouldn't have come to that truth. So, but because I was open with him, completely open with what had happened and all of that, it drew out the truth from him. And that can happen with anyone that if they're a loving person, something can get said through them. If you're completely open, something can get said through them that can really help. Can really help a situation so it doesn't go on dragging out. Wow.
Hey Jeff, I had this one thought, just one last thought here. Did you ever see Erich like crying or weeping? Did he ever express emotion that way that you saw, or like just being so touched, or anything like that, or was he just sort of even keel all the time?
I saw him crying once when I was leaving after being there in India for 4 months. He was actually, he was at the trust, and I actually had to comfort him. You know, I was surprised. I don't think it was that he was going to miss me, but he had seen what Baba, I came there in such bad shape. I mean, this is and after 4 months, I think he saw what wonders Baba had done in me. I think. I don't think he was missing me. But I mean, I had to actually comfort Erich. Can you imagine? That's the only time I've seen him. Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, that doesn't mean that he didn't, but I spent, so many hours and hours. And he used to say, you have to swallow your tears. That is very hard to do. To tell a heartbreaking story that he would without shedding a tear. But the tears are falling, but they're falling on the inside.
Yeah.
That's a different stage. That's postgraduate level.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what was he saying to you then when you were just leaving, and he was like, "Oh, I'll see you later, Jeff."
I can't remember. What struck me is that he was kind of weeping there. I mean, and I had to assure him. No, I didn't say, "Well, it should be all right." Come on. I don't know what I said, but I wasn't expecting it at all. But I think that he saw. At the time, I thought he was kind of sad to see me off. But in retrospect, I think, he saw what I went from being very. I had been married and she left. Oh. And I was broken when I got there. And he saw how I recovered by the end of 4 months. And I think he just saw what work Baba had done in me to kind of restore my heart and soul.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that. Oh.
Well, folks, hey, this, I had no idea what was going to happen. So anybody that wants to come on Tuesday night or Wednesday morning for Dinesh, I think. Anything, it's all potluck, anything. Jay has probably put the kids to bed. Sham, you still around? I am. Prakash, we didn't see Prakash, but he's probably tuning in. Dinesh, I saw him a little bit. See you guys.
Thank you, Jai Baba.
Yeah, Jai Baba.
Wonderful. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you,
Dinesh.
everybody.
Jai Baba.
Jai Baba. See you,
See you
Diane
late night
and
on
Terry.
Tuesday.
Yeah.
Jai Baba. Jai Baba.
Yeah. Marcia, see you.
Jai Baba.
Let's see. Marge.
No, I will have to. Ooh, do you have root beer?
Wow. And Priya, always great. Marcia, great to see you. Priya.
Hey, Jeff.
Good to be here.
We want, we would like some tandoori chicken. And,
Okay.
you know, chapatis and buttered naan, things like that when we come.
Hey, Jeff, did anybody tell you that when you left last time and Adrian was sitting with Alan, did anybody tell you what happened after you left?
You mean, what do you mean? When?
It was late and, yeah. You know, it was, you know, the witching hour where you live.
Yeah.
And you know, you were done.
Yeah.
And so you bid everybody good night. But Adrian remember she had joined us?
Yeah.
And sharing. Well, after you had left, guess what she did?
Did she come out and start singing? Beautiful.
No guitar. No guitar.
Oh, just kind of.
But if I had your phone number, I would have called you and said,
archipelago.
Sign back on.
Yeah, beautiful. Well, I'm leaving now, but you guys can just stay on till daybreak, you know. No, just yeah, don't leave because I'm leaving. But it is 12:15 here.
Yeah.
Oh, good, Prakash. Look at the guy is manifest.
We can't hear you.
He's on mute. He's on mute.
Am I
just unmute himself?
I'm still alive, Jeff.
Oh,
hi
good.
everybody. Jai Baba.
Jai Baba. Really, Prakash, this is the afterlife. You're not alive.
What a beautiful discussion you all had. Thank you for that. Thank you very
good.
much.
Well, you chime in at any time, Prakash.
I'm usually a great listener.
Yeah.
But I will if I get any thought at any time.
Yeah. Great to see you.
Jai Baba.
Yeah, Jai Baba. Wow. Okay, well, now I know as soon as I leave, then Adrian's going to come in. But, okay. Much love.
Jai Baba, Jeff.
I hope next time I'm in sync.
Yeah.
See you, Ganesh.
It'll happen.
Alan, yeah. Jai Baba, yeah.
Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
Jai Baba ki jai.
Jai Baba.
Good night, everybody.